Thank you. You can put your glasses back on. Now, if you were able to participate in my little experiment, you might have noticed a different room than usual. For those of you who normally wear glasses, things might have looked blurred, distorted, harder to navigate. And for others, things might have even looked more clear. But in reality, nothing around you actually changed. What if I told you that attitude has the same effect? Like the lenses in the prescriptions of our glasses change how we see everything around us, attitude acts as a lens through which we see our lives. You adjust the lens, you adjust how you perceive the world around you. You attain a new set of eyes. Alright, but what even is attitude? Because if you're like me, you might have grown up hearing the phrase, just have a good attitude, so often that it just became a repetitive nag. And trust me, as the youngest sibling of 3 daughters, I heard this phrase more than often. But, like I said, it never served its purpose. Now what if I told you we could turn this cliche into a useful tool to overcome adversity in our lives, no matter what it may be? I'm here today to teach you just that. Psychologists define attitude as the learned tendency to judge and evaluate things. It's essentially an umbrella term that includes our perceptions, beliefs, emotions, thoughts, and so on and so forth. In social psychology, it's defined using the ABCs. You have affective, how something makes you feel, behavioral, how you respond, and cognitive, how you interpret and judge something. Attitude is explicit. You know, there's signs in the way we speak and behave that shed light to our attitudes. But it is also implicit. It is quiet, unconscious, but it is just as powerful. Attitude has the power to determine how we judge our environments, others, and more importantly, ourselves. But the thing is, attitude doesn't just spawn out of anywhere, it is learned. For you AP Psych students, this occurs within the 3 learning processes. There is classical, how something makes you feel. Think about a time where you loved a song so much, you played it on repeat and repeat and repeat. You were also going through a milestone at the time of your life. You listen to that song a few months later, and you feel the same emotions you felt at that time. Then you have operative conditioning. This is the reward and punishment reaction to things. It's the same concept as whenever you use a spray bottle to spray your cat after they scratch up all the furniture in your house. Then there's observational conditioning, watching others and learning from them. This explains why children often adopt the same beliefs as their parents, why advertising companies use positive things to associate with their products, and why you're suddenly craving a Chili's triple dipper after watching that TikTok mukbang. All right. Chili's aside, I believe that observational conditioning holds the heaviest weight. We do not choose the environments we are brought up in, and the people we are surrounded by that shape our initial attitudes. This fact, for some, can be a curse. It causes us to hyperfixate on the negative things surrounding us that we are brought up with, and it narrows our broadened scope of the world around us. But I have some good news for you. As we grow, there is a shift. A shift of perception being a byproduct to it being a choice. As we gain independence comes a shift in responsibility. As we learn, grow, and experience, attitude stops just being something that happens to us and becomes something we actively participate in. This is where the chance to build resilience begins. Because when life beats you down, for example, your parents getting divorced or undergoing health issues, the only variable you have control over is this: Acceptance, as the Stoics describe it, is often misunderstood. It is not passivity. It is not ignoring reality. It is simply making the decision to stop bleeding energy into what already is so that you can focus on what can still be changed. This is not just a theory, though. This is actually measurable. You see, research from Johns Hopkins Medicine found that those with a positive outlook on life or positive attitude are significantly less at risk of cardiovascular events, even if they have a family history of heart disease. These individuals do not deny reality. They do not ignore their very apparent adversities. They simply make that choice, a mindset shift that changes the way their minds and bodies respond to stress over time. This exemplifies something astounding regarding attitude. It shows us that attitude not only shapes how life feels, it determines how life unfolds. Now, to come to understand the importance of attitude myself, I lived through a shift. Whenever I experienced adversities in my life, for example, in middle school, it felt like my environment, my friendships, and even my sense of identity were shifting at a rate I simply could not keep up with. This very negatively impacted my mental health. But the thing is, objectively, everything was fine. I had stability, support, a loving family, opportunities many aren't as fortunate as to have. And I understood all of this even then, so I kept asking myself, if everything around me is fine, why don't I feel fine inside? The answer was uncomfortable to come to terms with, but it is the reason I am here today expressing the importance of attitude to you all. For some people, attitude acts as that tool to overcome the external adversity in our lives, but for others, like me, you do it to yourself, you do, and that's why it really hurts. Attitude created adversity in my life where none existed in reality. This realization changed everything for me. Now, you might be wondering, Catherine, you've gone through the mechanics of attitude, the ins and the outs, but how do I actually apply this to my own life? The answer is actually quite simple. Stop and listen. If we stop and listen and develop genuine curiosity for hearing from those who are different from us, there is no more effective way to adjust our perspectives. If you learn how to stop and listen and do this, you will likely find what I have found. The only thing worse than change is to stay the same. Change is not the enemy, it is the mechanism in which we attain new eyes. Every action is a vote for the person that you want to become. You don't just wait for new attitude to appear. You can essentially just start LARPing as the person you want to become, who already sees the world differently. It's great, right? Because it's important to remember the amount of good things in your life depends on your ability